Hello and welcome to This One Thing, a daily video devotional coming to you from First Presbyterian Church of Fort Lauderdale. And together we'll be looking at one text and choosing one thing for you to consider. And we hope that you find this a thought-provoking, encouraging part of your day. Stan's Donuts is closed. Stan's Donuts is a longtime donut spot in Los Angeles, frequented over the years by movie stars like Steve McQueen, Elizabeth Taylor, Mel Brooks. The original sign was even recently restored and featured in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And in an article published this last week by the BBC News, writer Alice Cuddy tells the story of how the store came to be, how Stan, the owner and operator, now 90 years old, converted the little corner shop back in the 1950s into the favorite donut shop that it became. And she also shared that Stan's favorite donut was the Raisin Buttermilk Bar. And it was his favorite because just by tasting it, Stan, who came from a long line of bakers, could tell whether or not the fryers had been cleaned properly the night before. He was, or is, a master of his craft. Because of those years and years of experience, he could taste and know. His experience informed him that something was not quite right. Our text today comes from the book of Jeremiah, out of Jeremiah's 31st chapter. And in it, God says that the days are coming when there will be a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. A new covenant. And it's the only place in the Old Testament where there is this reference to a new covenant, that God is going to do something new. God says here that the old covenant that God had with the people, the covenant that had been made, had been broken. That he had made this covenant with them and leading them out of Egypt, and in the way that they had chosen to live had broken the covenant. And then, here in verses 33 and 34, God says that he's going to make a new covenant with them. He says, I will put and I will write my law on their hearts. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. No longer shall they teach one another or say to one another, know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least to the greatest. No longer will people have to teach each other how I want them to live. They will know it, because I will write it on their hearts. In other words, we wouldn't need years and years of experience to gain an understanding of what God required, some deep hidden knowledge. It would be right there, written on our hearts. Do you ever just know that something is not right? It's not a matter of understanding. You feel it down in your flesh. Your whole body wants to protest it. Even if you can't quite articulate it, it's this knowing. Watching over the last days the video of George Floyd's death in the Powderhorn neighborhood in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I feel this knowing that something is wrong, that God did not write this way to live on our hearts. And I don't know what to do. I I don't know exactly what we do, but I know that I can begin by saying, I see it. I can begin by saying that I know this is not how we were created to live with one another. And here's the one thing, friends, I believe that God has written this on each of our hearts, the ability to know this. The ability, it's there to be one people. The ability to love, the ability to say together that we see it too. Not to dodge it, not to try and explain it or equivocate, but to say we see it too. We see it too. Friends, be safe. Be well over the weekend. We'll see you on Monday.